Namaste. Welcome to your practice. Today we're going to be doing side gate pose and some variations on it. I really enjoy this sequence and I really enjoy these movements, partially because it gets us out of the sagittal plane of movement. The sagittal plane of movement is this front and back movement that we do in the mat here. So it's sort of oriented front to back. You can think about it as the get things done kind of plane of motion. So our sun salutations are in the sagittal plane. Warrior one is in the sagittal plane. When we get out of the sagittal plane, sometimes it can be really helpful to shift our mode of thinking, and it provides the body with a really different kind of feedback. We can get into the side of the body, we can get into some rotation. So look for some twists, side bends, and some back bends in our practice today. Let's get started lying down. So we'll come to lie down on the mat. Have your knees bent, soles of the feet a little bit wide, and you can just rest your hands anywhere that feels good to you. Pause for a moment and notice what there is to notice about how your body's feeling right now. So I can feel in my body there's a little tightness in a few places. I can feel I'm holding a little bit of tension. Try not to change it. Try not to make it bad or wrong at this point, but just notice. And then let's start to add a little movement here with the hips. So I'm keeping the back of my hips on the floor as I windshield wiper the legs side to side. So the movement isn't too big to start. And then let's add a little twist with the head as well. So as the legs go to one side, your gaze goes over to another. And if this makes you feel nauseated, if it's not right for you, of course, then just look up at one fixed point. Let the movement get a little bigger now, starting to translate the movement up from your hips, through the spine, maybe even into the head. And then the next time that the knees drop to the right, just let them drop. Pause for a moment and breathe into this hip opening twist. So it may not be a big twist, it may not be a big hip opening shape, but we're just checking in and seeing, how does this feel in my body? Side gate pose asks a lot of our inner thighs and our hips. So just notice what's here to start. And then let's come back through center and drop your knees over to the other side. Check in with your back too, as we move into some spinal extension, some back bends in our practice. We'll want to make sure that we're just caring for whatever it is that we're experiencing in our body today. Take one more breath where you are here. And then let's come back through neutral and invite your knees in towards your chest. Now they don't need to squeeze in tight, especially if there's any discomfort with that, or if your body won't let you squeeze in tight. So you can just rest a hand on each knee if that works for you. And then rock a little bit side to side here. As you rock side to side, let your eyes move with your head so that your gaze can take in whatever there is to see in the room with you. Notice how your breath is being experienced in your body today. Notice how your mood is. Notice what you're working with. And then we'll come back through to center. Place the hands on the front of the thighs here and unbend your knees so they're sort of like at a 90-degree angle. Your knees are either over your hips or they can be a little closer in towards you, sort of over your navel. Anywhere in that range is fine. And now we're lightly going to press the hands into the thighs, and with the thighs we press back. Try not to do this movement with your neck and shoulders. See if you can keep it a movement or an engagement of the low belly. And make sure that you can still breathe comfortably through your nose, presuming that you're able to breathe through your nose today. Take one more breath in and out here. And then release. Let's set the feet back down on the floor. So we've woken up a little bit of this anterior abdominal strength, and we'll use that as we move now. Keeping the feet on the floor this time, gently press the lower back into the floor so you feel your abdominal muscles turn on. Keep that as you lift the hips up into bridge pose. So I'd like you to only go as high as you feel like you're able to while still maintaining this engagement of the abdominal muscles.
The goal is for us to feel that we are using our hips here and not actually doing a back bend. So this will be helpful when we move into our half camel part of the series. This ability to sort of control how much am I doing through my lower back, and I'm using the abdominal muscles and the glutes to stabilize the lower back so that as I lift up, I'm doing, actually here I'm not doing any back bend at all, I'm doing all hip extension. So my spine is one straight shape from my hips to my shoulders, more or less, straight being a relative term, of course. And then come on down, roll back down onto your back. One more time, let's pull the knees in and just rock a little bit side to side. Okay, now we'll get into our flow. So take your time here. We're going to roll over to one side or another and transition to hands and knees. This practice is done almost entirely on your knees. So if you know that you've got some sensitivity there, just have some padding handy for yourself. I'm also going to be using blocks for a few things. If you don't have blocks or you don't want to use them, that's fine. So we'll start here in tabletop. Spread your fingers wide. Check in with your shoulders. Let the shoulders kind of draw away from the ears. And let's do some big circles. I like to start many of our practices with some rocking movements, with some circular movements. They can be really soothing and settling to the nervous system and kind of help us drop into a little bit of a zone. Let's go the other way here. All right, now one of the challenges of this practice today, for me, showing you, is that it can be a little bit confusing, or it might be a little bit hard to see visually, so I'll try to show you some different views. We'll start here by taking the right leg behind you, tuck the right toes under, and walk your hands forward, just stretching into the calf muscles here. Let your head hang, shake your head yes and no. You can come down onto your elbows if that feels more comfortable for you. And then let's switch. Knee comes down and the other knee walks back. Gently press the hands forward. Let the head drop. Think about making your heel heavy here. You may not get a lot of sensation here. That's okay. And then knee comes back down. Now, have your knees hip-width distance apart. As you breathe in here, I want you to think about inflating your lower back slightly, and then step your right foot back behind you. Take your left arm and reach it back as well. Now, right toes are still on the floor to start. Squeeze your right glutes, so the back of your right hip, your right butt squeezes. We lift the right foot away from the floor and we're balancing right hand and left knee. Take one breath here and then carry your right leg out to the side into side gate pose. So if you don't know, the leg just comes straight out to the side. Come on up to your hands. Adjust your pants if you need to. And then float the arms out to the side. So we've got the right leg out to the side straight. I'm on my left knee. And behind you, it's your choice. The back toes could be tucked under or the foot could be flat. Let's come into a side bend here. Take your left arm up over the ear and reach through that whole side body. Now, sometimes we say things like, imagine your body between two panes of glass. Well, your body has a lot of curves to it, of course, so we don't ever really want it to be like flat. And that's not really an appealing visual anyway. We don't want to make you kind of a human specimen pinned between two panes of glass. But for the purposes of our practice today, I would like you to see if you can kind of keep yourself squared toward the front of the mat. So left shoulder over left hip over left knee. And what I mean by that is you're not leaning forward too much here with the arm. You're not leaning back too much with the arm, but you're just kind of finding a space that feels reasonable for you. So my arm here over my head is actually over my leg. Good. If it's uncomfortable to have the arm over that ear like this, you can always hold the opposite side of the head. I know I have one friend who prefers that variation. Let's come all the way back up. Reach the arms up to the sky here and then hinge your hips back as you bow forward. Drop your head between your arms. Maybe shake your head yes and no. Now behind you, if you have your toes tucked under, you may be getting a big stretch through the bottom of your foot. If that feels okay, enjoy it. If it's not okay for you, then untuck your toes so the top of the foot is on the floor. In this shape, you may be experiencing many different things. Some of you are going to be getting a big stretch through the inner thigh here, your adductor muscles. Some of you won't be getting too much at all. So for this first time through, experiment a little bit with rocking back and forth, coming in and out of the pose, getting a little more stretch, getting a little less stretch, and just kind of seeing how that feels. See if you can let your head and neck be a little bit heavy. And then pause and take one complete breath in and out. Move your shoulders forward, walk the hands back as needed. Pick up your right leg and bring it back in line with the left. And now we're taking some cats and cows here. So we've come through our first variation, the side gate pose, and we'll continue to build on that. Check in, how is your body feeling as you move? Would it feel good to sway the hips a little side to side, to move in a circle, or is cat and cow feeling good? Now we'll move to the second side. So we start by stepping the left foot back behind you. Squeeze your left glutes. The toes are still on the floor. As you inhale, think about puffing up through the lower back just a little. And then reach your right arm back. So left foot is back, right arm is back. The glutes are engaged. You sort of feel this sense of balancing on one hand and one knee. Make sure that your left shoulder isn't creeping up to the ear and that the left hand is pushing into the floor, so we feel more of a sense of buoyancy or attempted buoyancy rather than sinking into the arm. Good. From here, carry that leg out to the side and rise up. So we're in our side gate pose. I'll show you this view and then I'll show you that front view again. Remember, you have a choice. Is your back leg tucked under, or the back toes tucked under, or is the foot flat? That's up to you. And then as the arms extend out to the side, we come up and over the left leg this time, dropping the ear toward the shoulder. So if you look at me from the side here, I'm trying to keep myself in this plane of movement where I'm not leaning forward, I'm not sticking my butt back, and that may mean that you don't go as far to the side as you sort of feel like you should. So take a look. If I'm really limited here in my ability to side bend, and I am a little tight in this side of the body, not gonna lie, I'm feeling some major stretch here, then a lot of times our body will try to accomplish this movement or try to make us feel like we're getting further by doing something. And how the body compensates really depends. Some of us are going to have a little back bend here that'll be trying to compensate. Others of us will be reaching forward with the arm. So just notice where you are and see if you can let your spine just naturally arc to the side as far as it does until it stops. So there's no real fight. There's no real struggle. That doesn't mean you won't feel some intensity. From here, take both arms up overhead and then hinge your hips back as you bow forward. Now you may want to just drop right in. That might feel good to you. Or as we did on the other side, we might rock front and back. So as you're rocking, you're maybe noticing sensation changing through that inner thigh, through your adductor muscles on the left leg this time. But see if you can also zoom out so that you feel your whole body moving. Notice where your hands and your arms are in space. Notice where the sensation is biggest. And see if you can just let it be what it is. Okay. From here, find a space where it feels okay to pause, and we'll take one breath in and out. And then invite your left knee back in by the right, and we're coming back into our tabletop. Now, if you'd like another round of cat and cow, feel free. If you want to explore a downward facing dog here, feel free. And we'll take 1 or 2 breaths before we move on. Okay. If you lift it into downward facing dog, let's drop the knees back to the floor. Step your right foot back behind you, toes tucked under. Lift through the low belly, inflate through the lower back as you lift the right leg into the air. So not a back bend, but an engagement of your right gluteal muscles. Instead of reaching the left arm back, this time we're reaching it forward for bird dog. Take a complete breath in and out here, and then lower the hand and swing your right leg out to the right.
Rise up into side gate for the second time. So here's that view from the front. Arms reach out to the side, we come up and over to the right. Now you may find now that you've got a little further to go, that your body is giving you a little more space to move into. Check in, can your ear drop towards your shoulder a little more comfortably? We'll take one more breath here. And then we're adding on, extend the arms out to the sides once more. Reach to your left and bring your hand down to the floor. If the floor feels far away, bring your hand onto a block. Pause for a moment here. We're going to get a little bit technical. In a moment, I'm going to ask you, if you want to lift your right leg into the air. And as you do that, many of us will automatically move into a back bend. So the first thing I'd like to ask you to do is find a neutral-ish spine. So remember you're feeling in bridge pose of pressing the lower back into the floor. Put your hand on your lower back here and gently press your lower back into your hand. Your glutes squeeze a little bit, the abdominal muscles engage a little bit. Then we lift the leg. Now, I'm lifting my arm as well. And as I look down, because I've done that work of engaging my abdominal muscles and my glutes, I'm making sure that I'm not just moving my body into a back bend. And what that means is that my heel, my hip, and my shoulder are all in one line. Now, you may already be feeling like, wow, we've been here a little while. If you need to put your foot down at any time, go ahead. Otherwise, let's take one more breath in and out here. And then lower the foot to the floor. Pause and breathe. You may be experiencing something in the outer hips. If you get a cramp, rest and breathe through it. It'll go away soon. Now, let's take this top arm and sweep it along the horizon, up and over the ear. I'm going to go to the floor with this hand here. Whoops, tossed my block a little more vigorously than I intended. Now I'm pushing the right foot into the floor, arcing up and over with the arm, and I'm looking for a side bend on this side of my body. Take a breath or two here, see how it feels. Remember, if it doesn't feel good to have the arm reaching in this way, we can have the hand on the head. And you can even tuck the arm behind the back. That's going to give some of us a really nice stretch through the neck, so feel free to play with that. One last breath here. And now we're walking, hand down to the floor, around to the front of the mat, and dropping back into our stretch here. Pause and breathe. Either your back toes are tucked under, or if that's too intense, we've untucked them. Some of you will want to continue to rock here as we did earlier. Or some of us may want to start to walk the hands over toward the straight leg. As I do that, I'm leaning back through my left hip. This gives me a really nice stretch all along the outer left shoulder, and I'm just letting the head drop toward the floor. Take 2 breaths wherever you are. And then hands come back through to neutral. Bring your right knee back in line with the left. Cat and cow here. Okay, let's get right to the second side of that one. Left toes step back. Squeeze the left glutes. Imagine that you're puffing up into the lower back. Reach your right arm forward, lift the left leg. So if you look at my back, I'm trying not to do a big back bend. That would look like this. Don't let that leg lift too high or you'll have to. Take another breath here, and then take your right foot out to the right and rise up, side gate pose yet again. Arms float to the side. Now your right arm reaches up over the ear, and we're getting back into that side of the body. Check in with your left shoulder. Is it kind of sneaking up around the ear? And see if you can just invite it to soften. Notice that the 2 sides of the body may feel different. And remember that you've got choices to make here. Which direction these left toes face is kind of up to you. I'm keeping mine facing more forward, but whatever you need to do here is absolutely fine. Let's take one more breath as we are. Come back up through to our T position with the arms. Now, right arm out to the right, hand down to the floor or a block. Pause, line everything up, hand, knee, foot. Engage through the belly, squeeze the glutes, lift left foot into the air. So we're taking the side plank variation here. Try to keep your toes facing forward for this one rather than pointing to the sky, just a different way to do it. Staying here for a few breaths. Remember, things to focus on. Push your right hand into the floor. Notice if you're bringing some back bend into the pose, and keep your heel lined up with the hip. Last breath, and foot comes to the floor. Now, sweep your arm up over your ear and arc up and over like you're making a rainbow shape with the side of your body. As you stay and breathe here, notice how your body may be experiencing this. Where's the big stretch, if there is one? And is there anything you can do to make it a little more breathable or doable? Last breath here. And then left hand lowers down. Walk your way around to the front. Drop your hips back into your variation of this inner thigh stretch. So as you lean back into it, remember, we can always rock. We might sway side to side, or some of us will want to walk the hands over to the left and lean back with that right side body, getting that big stretch. At least it's big for me. I shouldn't universalize that. It may not be big for you. But we're looking to lengthen through the whole right side of the body. For me, my lats are tight today. I really feel like this is a nice stretch for me today. But our experiences are going to be different, so find what works for you. All right, hands come back. We're bringing your left knee back in. Pause for a moment here and let's drop back into child's pose and just take a breath or two. If child's pose isn't your cup of tea, then make your way into down dog or just take a seat. And we'll resume our movement very quickly here. Okay. From your child's pose position, keep your hands where they are. Come forward, and then let's find a little bit of a cat and cow vinyasa here. We're going to drop the belly down, round the spine, and pull back into child's pose. So let's try that with breath. As you inhale, come forward, rounding the spine. As you exhale, drop the belly down. Now we're moving toward cobra. Exhale, push the mat away, and pull back towards child's pose. One more time. Inhale forward. Your spine is rounding. Lower yourself down toward cobra. Push yourself up and back, and we're back in child's pose. All right, let's add on to our side gate flow. Step your right toes back, squeeze your right glutes, lift the right leg. Stretch the left arm forward or back. Now you pick, which way did you like best? Then the hand comes down, the right leg steps out to the right, and we rise up for side gate. Take the arms wide, stretch up and over to the right first. Open the arms again as you come to the left, hand down to the mat. Lift the right leg for our side plank. Foot down to the floor, circle the arm up over the ear as we come into the side bend. And then we're rising back up into side gate for our setup here. Now we're moving into half camel. So here's the side view of this. The right leg is out to the right. The left foot is behind you. We're engaging through the abdominal muscles, squeezing the glutes, hands at the hips to start. Arc yourself back just as far as you're comfortable. So if you're feeling like your lower back is doing all of the work, come back up, stabilize, a little more engagement through the abs, a little more dropping of that tailbone under you. As you stay here for another breath or two, if it's feeling really good in your body, reach your left hand back to your left heel. The right arm can either be at the heart or maybe it reaches back. Take a breath in and out here, and then use your glutes to press yourself up. From here, arms reach, hinge back. We're bowing forward into our sort of puppy pose side gate adductor stretch.
And now we're going to add on a final piece. Take your left arm up toward the sky and stretch it under, so we're rolling onto the left shoulder. The ear comes down toward the floor. If this is not doable with your leg in this position, if this is too intense, or if your shoulder or head do not come to the floor, we have some options. You can always prop yourself up with a blanket right here under the shoulder. That would look like this. Those of you who are just able to do the pose comfortably right now, enjoy it. If you need a little visual or a little help, you can take a look. If this is still not doing it, if this is still really just uncomfortable for you, then try bringing your knee back in and just thread the needle here. So we take that inner thigh stretch out of it. This may simplify things for you. Let's do one last breath in and out here as you are. And then press yourself back up. Bring your right leg back in. Cat and cow one time here. And then your choice, downward facing dog or child's pose. I'm gonna move into down dog myself. So now we've got two pieces that we've added on to our flow. We're going to repeat that on the second side, and then we'll run through it again. If you're in down dog with me, take one more breath. If you're in child's pose, take one more breath. And then we'll all have knees down to the floor. Arms reach forward. Child's pose stride with the arms. And then let's move through that cat and cow vinyasa. Inhale to round forward. Exhale, lower down into cobra. Now let's pause here. Take an extra inhale in your cobra. Exhale, round back. Two more times. Inhale forward, rounding. Exhale, lower down, cobra. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, child's pose. Last time through. Inhale, round forward. Exhale, lower to the floor. Inhale, lift up for cobra. Exhale, back, child's pose. Okay, tabletop, walk the hands back in. Left toe step back behind you. Engage your abdominal muscles, engage your glutes to lift your left foot, and then make a choice. The right arm either reaches forward or back. Which one did you prefer? Take a breath in here, and then as you exhale, swing your left leg out to the left, rise up for side gate. So, the arms reach to the sides, your right arm stretches up over the ear. Float yourself back up, take the right arm out to the right to a block or the floor. Lift your leg for the side plank variation. Foot to the floor, stretch the arm up over the ear. Find the side bend here, check your right shoulder, make sure it's not creeping towards the ear. And then push into the floor, rise back up, coming into our Ardha Ustrasana half camel. Tuck your back toes under or not, whatever feels better for you. Engage the abs, squeeze the glutes forward, and then curl your upper back as you move in. Remember, we can just do hands right here at the hips. You could do hands at the heart. We could do one arm back to the foot or to the lower back, and the other arm reaching. So you've got a lot of options to explore here. Take another breath or two as you are. See what feels right for you. And then rise up and hinge yourself forward. Pause here and we move right into that thread the needle variation. So the right arm stretches up this time and we weave under onto the right shoulder. If it's uncomfortable to have the shoulder, the head, the leg in this position, make whatever change you need to, right? We just want to make sure that this is really going to work for you. Last breath or two here. And then gently press into the floor. Swing your leg back in. Cat and cow, child's pose, hip circles, or down dog. Pause and breathe. So, we're going to move through that sequence a few more times now. You're familiar with all of the different positions, and we're just going to bring it into a little bit of a flow.
If you need to move a little more slowly than I'm cueing, please do that for yourself. If you want to spend more time in one pose and skip another, please do that for yourself, right? This is for you. So here we go. From our tabletop position, the right leg steps back. Engage the glutes, the right leg lifts, left arm reaches forward or back, you choose. And then hand down, right leg out to the right. We rise up and reach the arms wide. Stretch to your right as the left arm reaches up over the ear. Arms come back out to a T. Take the left arm out to the left and find your side plank variation. Lift your leg if you like. Foot down to the floor. Arc your arm up over the ear for that side bending variation. Push off of the floor to come back into our half camel variation. Now, as we've gotten deeper and deeper into this experience, you may find that you want to move into something a little bit different here. Some of you are able to reach your heel comfortably without tucking your toes. That's fine. Others of us may find that we're a little more restricted today. So for this time, I'm going to do just one hand at the hip and one hand at the heart. One breath here. Rise back up through to center. Stretch the arms as you hinge back into the inner thigh stretch. Now we come into that twist, the thread the needle variation. Left arm reaches up first, and we weave under onto the left shoulder. Use your right hand to gently press into the floor, to rotate right shoulder over the left a little bit more. And then come back through. Lower your hand to the floor. Bring your right knee and your left knee back toward one another. Draw back to child's pose, and we'll do 3 of our cat-cow vinyasas. Inhale, round forward. Exhale, thighs, belly, chest down to the mat. Inhale, lift up for cobra. Exhale, back into child's pose. 2 more times through. You can change it anytime you need to. Inhale, we round forward. Exhale, lower thighs, belly, chest. Inhale, back bend here. Exhale, child's pose. 1 more time through on your own. And then let's just take 2 breaths here in a resting position before we do the second side of the flow. And this time I will show you the front view. Okay, back to our tabletop. Stretch your left foot back behind you. Lift the left leg. Keep the engagement of the abdominal muscles and the glutes. Right arm stretches forward or back, whatever you like. Lower the hand. Kick the left foot out to the left. Rise up. Arms go wide. Stretch up over the ear, just as we've done so many times before. Lift up. Arms go wide. Again, as we lower, right hand to the floor. Engage your glutes and your abdominal muscles as you lift your left foot. Lower down, side bend, stretch up and over. And then push off with the hand, rise back up. We're in our half camel variation. Maybe one hand to the heel, one hand to the lower back, one hand to the heart. And back up through to center. Arms reach, hinge back as the hands bow to the floor in front of you. The right arm stretches up and we weave under the left shoulder, coming into our variation on thread the needle, stacking as best you can the top shoulder over the bottom shoulder. As long as there's no strain, make sure your neck is happy. And unwind. Knee comes in, hands to the floor. We'll do 1 cat and cow vinyasa. Hinge your hips back toward child's pose. Round as you come forward. Lower down through cobra to the mat. Lift up for cobra. Press it back, child's pose.
Okay, back to tabletop.
And let's run through one final time. Are you ready? Here we go. Right foot steps back, lift the leg, lift the arm. One breath here. Hand down, leg to the side, side gate pose. Stretch your arm up over the ear. Reach to the side and come on in. Here we are in our side plank variation. Lower the leg, sweep the arm up over the ear for the side bend variation of that side plank. Push off, rise up, and we're in our half camel. Engage the abs, lift up through the front of the pelvis. This is our last time through, so if you want to go a little further, feel free. Take the time you need to rise up. Lower the hands down to the mat. Left arm reaches to the sky and weaves under for our final thread the needle on this side. Take one breath here. Bring your hand in. Step your knee back. Draw the hips back into child's pose. Forward. Lower down. Lift for your cobra. Press back to child's pose. Here we go, last time through with the left leg. Step your left foot back behind you. Engage the left glutes. Reach the right arm. Take it out to the side. Come on up. Reach the arms. Side bend. Side plank to the other side. Remember, your block is there if you need it. Foot down, stretch up and over. Notice how the movements have smoothed out, perhaps, as we've repeated. Push yourself up, half camel. Engage the glutes, engage the abs. Maybe a little deeper into the stretch this time, but only as far as feels really comfortable and controllable for you. Hinge your hips back, bow forward. And a final time, right arm into the air and under. And here we are. Thread the needle again. Last breath, in and out here. And then walk your hand back in. Bring your knee back in. Let's take 1, 2, or 3 rounds of our cat-cow vinyasa. Bring the hips back toward the heels. Round forward, lower down. Lift up, press back. Now you may feel like that's as much as you'd like for today. If you want to move a little more, try 1 or 2 more rounds of this. Or just take a moment and rest. Now, as you move through whatever your final few breaths are here, begin to make your way to a seated position. And let's pause for a moment before we lie down, before we rest, and just check in. What do you notice in your body? Although we never stood all the way up here, this is a really thorough way to work. We certainly engaged our core. We worked strongly through our hips. We asked our spine to move in many different ways. What do you notice here? Now, if you'd like to stay for a seated meditation rather than shavasana, that's great. I'm going to stay seated for today as I talk us through a little relaxation. If you'd like to lie down, make your way to lie down. I'm going to sit on a blanket for this part of my practice. Whether you're seated or lying down, take a moment or two to arrange your body comfortably. At this point in the practice, we want to really minimize effort. And let the body just settle in. When we move through different planes of movement, especially when we're going side to side and front to back in this way, we're also engaging our brain. We did some contralateral work as well, right arm, left leg, and vice versa. So see if you can notice how your brain feels. Have you engaged your mind today? And now as we rest, whether you're seated or lying down, see if you can imagine that your mind rests on top of your body. Like a pancake rests on a frying pan. Let it be heavy, mind at rest. Let the body be heavy, body at rest. The body rests on the mat, and the mind rests on the body. You continue to have the experience of being in your body. You'll hear sounds, smell anything in the room, experience sensations from inside the body. That's normal. And our mind continues to experience these sensations and sounds and the things that go with having a body. Just notice that. Notice that the mind can be resting even as it experiences the feeling of the body. And at the same time, your mind may have thoughts coming and going. Just notice that you can still be relatively restful, even as the thoughts come and go. So we're not grabbing onto the thought, we're just noticing and letting it go. Take another moment here, quiet. I'll stop talking and let you just experience your body and your mind at rest together. If you have a little more time in your day, you might stay here and simply let your mind rest, observe whatever there is to observe. If you are ready to move, or if you have allotted just this 45 minutes to yourself, then it's time to move forward. If you've been lying down, you can invite movement and make your way, not rushed, but make your way back toward a seat. And if you're seated, you can open the eyes. If they've been closed, look around the room. Let's take one last moment together to acknowledge this practice, to acknowledge the work that your body and your mind did. And maybe if there is some sense of feeling better or feeling good, if there's something to appreciate about how your body or your mind feel right now, take a moment and soak that in. The fruits of the practice. If you'd like, the hands might come to the heart, the chin bows toward the chest, and we take a breath in and out together here. And when you feel ready, eyes open, hands rest. Thank you so much for joining me for practice today. I hope this felt good. I hope you had fun, and I hope I get to practice with you again soon. Be well.